What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Thank you for spending time on this very festive day to check in on me and see what this video is all about, as it is my 2021 NFL Mock Draft 3.0. We're using a brand new site. Usually I use the Draft Network. This time we're changing it up using a site that was linked to me on Twitter. I honestly can't remember the name. It was like 2 months ago. But you watching it, you know the buddy that linked me to this. Thank you very much. And we got this going, man. Is there going to be trades? There could be trades. The Draft Network, you have to be a premium member. This year, I can just make trades, and we're going to do it. So, now, as of recording this, and this will come out Christmas, so yeah, we won't really have a whole lot of changes to the draft order. The Jets no longer have the first-round pick after the upset victory over the Rams. The Jags are here, and it doesn't matter. Whoever's picking at 1 is ending up getting Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is... The bar has been reset. So many people say Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Well, now you're only going to go as far back as Trevor Lawrence. Here on out, for the next 10 years, all the top players that get hyped up are going to be the next Trevor Lawrence. That's how damn good he is. And that's a good fit for Jacksonville. It'll be interesting to see if the Jags tank. You know, James Robinson picked up an injury. Are they going to shut him down? That's the sign of a tank. Are they going to switch up from Minshew and go to Jake Luton? That's the sign of a tank. They deserve it, though. Jags fans deserve a nice franchise quarterback. I'm a fan of the Cons. They made AEW wrestling. I'm a fan. So, good karma in the world. You guys get Trevor Lawrence in return. Pick 2, the Jets. I had to make a poll. I wasn't too sure about this. I made a poll saying, do you want Justin Fields, Sewell, or do you trade back? And a lot of people were thinking maybe trade back. You know, Joe Douglas, a very good GM, was here in Philadelphia. I liked him. There's an argument to be had that, yeah, they could just take the consolation prize in Justin Fields. I personally am not super high on Justin Fields. I have my skepticisms, as a lot of people do, of any Ohio State quarterback because of the scheme. But I think Joe Douglas took the job in the Jets, not with the pitch to the owners and stuff. They're like, all right, we'll get rid of Sam Darnold and we'll start over. I think there is something in there that he thinks he could salvage Sam Darnold with the new head coach, new whatever. So the winner of the poll, and what I think I would do if I'm the Jets, and if someone blows the doors off and says, I'll give you like a late first-round pick for Sam Darnold, which shouldn't and probably most likely won't happen, but if something outrageous happened for Sam Darnold, then you make that deal. But if not, I'm fine taking Sewell, because Mekhi Becton has been outstanding. If you're ranking the rookies this year, he's probably 3 on the offensive side of the ball behind Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert. And you pair that with Sewell, who's the best tackle player I've seen since Trent Williams was coming out of Oklahoma. Sewell and Becton would be maybe the best tackle pairing in the NFL. Obviously, you know, they got to get to the NFL. There's unknown there for Sewell in particular. But on paper, I would make the bold claim that, like, for the next 10 years, the Jets might have the best 1-2 punch at tackle, which goes a long way into salvaging Sam Darnold. You still have another first-round pick that you could go potentially on the offensive side of the ball as well, or just have an emphasis on the offensive side of the ball for most of this draft, especially early in day 2. Continue to build weapons. Look at tight end. Look at running back. Build around Denzel Mims, Jameson Crowder, in terms of skill position players. But Sewell, you can't go wrong. Like, he is so good. He's so athletic. Technique is refined. I think that, you know, it's not maybe the prettiest of picks because you already got a tackle last year, but it's you know, there's a legitimate argument to be made that after quarterback, tackle is the most important spot on an offense. And having 2 guys that I think have all pro ceilings, you're laughing. You are absolutely laughing if you're the Jets and you gamble and you hit on that gamble of rebuilding and trying to save Sam Darnold. Pick 3, the Bengals are absolutely furious. There may be, like, you would argue, obviously, the Jets losing out Trevor Lawrence, that's a big loss. But you could also make an argument that happening, the trickle-down effect, that now the Bengals don't get Sewell to protect Joe Burrow, is as big of a loss. So if I'm the Bengals here, Sewell goes at 2, I am trading back. And I have a trade partner. So Cincinnati is going to trade pick 3, and I think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to trade up because they can get their guy. I think Justin Fields is going to be the guy for the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people think Matt Ryan's going to leave. It's a mock draft. Assumptions and kind of bold assumptions may have to be made because obviously it does seem like Matt Ryan could be gone. Matt Stafford, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo. Those are some big name quarterbacks that could be gone in the offseason. So we'll make an assumption just to have a little bit of fun here in the mock draft and not be template that the Falcons say, hey, we gotta shift things here. Justin Fields, local guy there in Atlanta, in Georgia. I think that makes a whole lot of sense that they would fall in love with him. And whoever their new official coach is going to be Raheem Morris, or they look outside the building. I think if I'm a Falcon fan, Morris has done a solid job, But in today's NFL, you need an offensive head coach. Get a guy that would be able to get the most out of Justin Fields and start that new era. And you still have a little bit of Julio Jones left. You have Calvin Ridley, still generally a solid offensive line. Figure out the running backs. The defense will come. I'd probably prioritize the defense after this, especially at edge rusher and in the secondary. But Justin Fields to Atlanta at pick 3. There you go. Pick 4. We have the Carolina Panthers, and I'm having them getting the man that I think I currently would put ahead of Justin Fields in my QB rankings, and that is Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance, generally, they're both very good athletes if we're comparing the two. I just think Trey Lance is a better decision maker. I think he has a better release. And the mechanics are a little bit better on Trey Lance. But obviously, you're always going to have the argument. I can't even really say Carson Wentz right now because things aren't looking so hot. But you always have the argument, North Dakota State, level of competition. Yeah, sure, he didn't throw any interceptions, but he's going up against guys that 97% of them aren't going to the NFL for sure. But I do think that the time is now. Teddy Bridgewater is Teddy Bridgewater. Even with Joe Brady, who I think most people can agree is like the best young OC in the NFL, coming from LSU with what he did with Joe Burrow. Even him, he could not take Teddy Bridgewater to the next level. He didn't regress by any means, but Teddy Bridgewater is Teddy Bridgewater. A quarterback that is kind of passive, not ever going to be prolific, but not also really going to put your team in bad positions. That's not franchise. But Trey Lance has a chance to be the franchise. And it's going to a good spot where you don't have to rush him in if you are worried about that gap between FCS and the NFL. Plus, he pretty much took a whole year off this year, right? So you have Teddy Bridgewater to be that stopgap quarterback. And the more important thing is, like, you need to maximize Joe Brady for while you have him, because Joe Brady eventually is most likely going to go on and become a head coach sooner than later. But while you have this outstanding offensive mind that has groomed quarterbacks before in Joe Burrow, which was outstanding, the greatest quarterback season ever in college football, have a year or two of Joe Brady developing Trey Lance. So that whenever he gets that job, Trey Lance has been able to sap up all that knowledge, all that development, and you're ready to rock and roll there at the quarterback spot. So Trey Lance, for me, is the guy at pick 4 for the Carolina Panthers. Pick 5, the Bengals are here, and again, they're just like, need a lineman. No linemen are really there. There are other needs for the Cincinnati Bengals for sure. I mean, if I'm the Bengals, I think you could look at probably edge rush. You could look at maybe corner potentially. But if I'm sitting here, I know that my first round pick has to protect Joe Burrow. So at 5, we already obviously gained some assets here from Justin Fields. For this mock draft, I'm only dealing first round picks. You can let your imagination handle the rest of the draft compensation. I think I would trade back if I am the Cincinnati Bengals here at 5. And who would I trade with? Well, it obviously would be a team that needs a quarterback. There's only really one quarterback left that I think is a legitimate first-round caliber, and that's Zach Wilson. So we're going to have Cincinnati trade pick 5 to a team that I think would have no problem trading at because they've done it before, and that's the Chicago Bears. Now, here's why. The Bears, while having no premium draft picks because of the Khalil Mack trade, have still managed to field a dare I say it, Super Bowl caliber defense with a pretty damn good offense, just missing a quarterback. And they have running backs and tight end, but for the most part, they've been a quarterback away from being a legitimate contender in the NFC. So if I'm the Bears, I'm comfortable giving up whatever assets it's going to be to jump up 11 spots into pick 5, because you've been able to survive and endure and still generally perform well without having multiple elite draft picks. And it wouldn't cost you what it cost Khalil Mack. I don't even know if it would cost 2 firsts to move from 15 up to 5. It would cost a lot, though. First, it might be 2 firsts, but probably a first, a second, and then a future second and a third, or something like that. Multiple picks. It'll be an expensive price to pay. But unlike Mitchell Trubisky, I think Zach Wilson, his wires aren't crossed. I think Trubisky is beyond repair, and this is going to be a move that I would assume Matt Nagy wants to make because he knows his job's on thin ice. And if you're Matt Nagy, you brought in this offensive guy, the guru, everything else like this from Kansas City. You're like, oh, I might not be here to feel the wrath of these future years. And the GM might not be there to feel the wrath of future. So this is all it's a panic move to trade up against Zach Wilson, but you gotta have to get your quarterback one way or another. And I'm looking at all the teams that could potentially trade up there with the Bengals at 5, and the Bengals are laughing. They've traded down twice, have a whole lot of draft capital to continue to revamp this team and get younger. The 49ers could trade up. The Lions could potentially look at a trade up. They get rid of Matt Stafford. You could see New England at 15 wanting to trade up. You could see Washington at 19 wanting to trade up. The Colts way down there. But I think the team that I would gamble would be most likely to make that move up in the top 5 to get Zach Wilson would be the Chicago Bears. And I think it'd be a good fit in there with that Matt Nagy offense. So pick 6. We have the Miami Dolphins. It's always going to be a tough pick because Philly's right here at 7. I didn't want to make this pick with who I wanted Philly to get in mind. So I reached out to a buddy who's a Dolphins fan, and I was like, who do you think they get at 6? And he made the argument that it's really between Micah Parsons and Jamar Chase. I was like, oh, they really need a linebacker? He's like, yeah, they do. I was like, well, Micah Parsons is pretty much a better Kyle Van Noy, and Van Noy's been outstanding for you guys. And Parsons can play every linebacker position. Chip in, rush the passer as well. He's like, well, we also need, how about Tua with a wide receiver? And I was like, okay, well, looking at this, knowing that you have a second first-round pick, knowing that the drop-off at linebacker is way more considerable than the drop-off at wide receiver, knowing that Brian Flores is a defensive guy, knowing that Brian Flores knows that his team is always going to be defense first, and then the offense is going to complement it, even with Tua and all that stuff and all the hype, Parsons will be the pick at pick 6. You get Micah Parsons, guy right now that can slot in anywhere at the linebacking core, which is, it's a solid linebacker core. Jerome Baker's okay. Van Noy is very good. Shaq Lawson as an edge rusher, and then Parsons can be that third guy. Just immediately right away, jack of all trades, great for the multiples fronts they'll be running. And then, wherever they pick next at 21, you can get a lineman. You can get an interior lineman. You can grab a tackle. You can grab a wide receiver. You can get a skill position player, right? So I feel like that is the more sensible thing for the Dolphins to do, knowing that, hey, they might want a wide receiver, but if Tua is my quarterback and there's a chance that Waddle or Smith is still available, I think I'd take a linebacker and then get that chemistry back from college and reunite that on my offense, then just say Jamar Chase, which, moving into pick 7, makes it very... Actually, it's not as cut and dry, because Philly, you could debatably argue that if Jalen Reagor can develop this corner outside of Darius Slay is the bigger need for Philadelphia, but I think Philadelphia goes into this offseason with the intention and the idea that fixing Carson Wentz is still going to be priority number 1. I mean, anything can happen. They could trade him. They could... I just think above Jalen Hurts' success or anything, Carson Wentz's contract is going to be the biggest issue, especially if you're the owner. And Jeffrey Lurie, you're like, well, we have a good backup quarterback. Maybe we trade Jalen Hurts, but we can't move on from Carson Wentz any way, shape, or form unless something crazy happens. Maybe the Niners, if they cut Jimmy Garoppolo and they want to have that big investment shifted over to Carson Wentz. But if you're trying to fix Carson Wentz, it's not going to happen by drafting a corner. It's not going to happen by drafting a D lineman. It's going to happen by bringing in a wide receiver, and Jamar Chase is simply outstanding. You saw Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson side by side last year at LSU, and as great as Justin Jefferson was, and as great as Justin Jefferson has been for the Minnesota Vikings this year, Jamar Chase was, I don't want to say considerably, but like you look at two of them, 90% of people would be like, I think Jamar Chase is the better player. They're both very, very good. So like you passed on Justin Jefferson last year if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't mess it up again. This is like a can't mess up pick. Like either one. If Parsons is still there and they go Chase, one of these two guys, if Philadelphia stays pat here at 7, 6, or even top 5, has to be the pick. Pick 8 for Dallas. They're happy. They get Surtain. Outside corner is a massive need for a defense. That has improved a little bit in the season, but you can still tell the back end is not particularly good, especially after losing Byron Jones, unable to replace him. So they get a blue chip corner in Patrick Surtain. Pick 9, we have the Chargers on the clock. I think this could be an interesting position for the Chargers to look at trading down. I think they're another one that they could be looking at the offensive line as a potential spot that they want to upgrade. They could be looking at corner, like Farley's right there. They could, like, but my question would be who would want to trade up to 9? Because there's no, like, for the most part, people are trading up for quarterbacks, at least like that far. You can maybe say the Patriots want to secure Kyle Pitts, and they would want to trade up, but I don't think there's a lot of worry that the teams ahead of the Patriots would grab a tight end. So if I'm 9 and we're just staying pat here, I think we'll go Farley, the corner here from Virginia Tech. Outside man corner, helps out that secondary. You know, they kind of took a little bit of fly. Like you can tell Casey Hayward, Chris Harris, like they got veterans that they're declining. There's no other way to put it. So get Farley, who some people have as corner 1, and get a playmaker on that defensive side of the ball. Most likely, it seems like Gus Bradley could be fired. It'll be a new DC, be able to maximize and develop this great young corner. Pick 10, we have the New York Giants, and I have the Giants going Greg Rousseau. I do think he's slightly overrated right now by a lot of people. A lot of people have him going like top 5. You gotta remember, he's kind of a one-year wonder. He has an incredibly high ceiling. He'd be a great fit there in New York. I think you have a chance to make a decision for his growth, kind of like Rashawn Gary with the Green Bay Packers. When you bring him in, he's like, all right, are we going to make him? He has the size and length that we can bulk him up and put him on the defensive line, even though I don't know why you would, because you should be re-signing Leonard Williams. I would stand him up as a 3-4 edge rusher. I think he's very, very athletic, has an incredibly high ceiling. This is an underrated defense that I think would be able to develop Gregory Rousseau and get a lot more pressures from a defense that the front three is outstanding. But when you go to the linebacking core, especially for pressuring the quarterback, it's less than ideal. So I think Rousseau is a big get there for the Giants, and that'll go a long way to improving that defense and establishing. You need to have good defense. And if the NFC East is eventually going to get back to being the premier division in football, which I don't know when it will be, but if it is, defense and offensive line is where you need to build. And that's a good fit there for the Giants. Pick 11, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, this is an interesting pick because we're making assumptions here in this mock draft. And people are thinking, for whatever reason, that the Detroit Lions are not going to re-sign Kenny Golladay. I don't know why they would do that. And obviously, they could be in play for a quarterback if they don't retain Stafford. So questions could be had. But I'm just going to make assumption that the Lions' defense has not been good enough. So we'll go with the homer pick here and get Kwity Paye. He can play everywhere on the front, make an assumption they stay in a 3-4. Even if they go to a 4-3, I think he's going to be fine. I think out of everyone, he could be the guy that... He's a guy right now, when you look at the top 15 players like Kwity Paye, like the production doesn't really line up. But every year, it's a guy that doesn't have great production, but he just blows the doors off at the combine. And a lot of people are hyping him up as one of the biggest athletic freaks in college football. So if Paye comes in and dominates the combine, A-tier athletes that have a great foundation that Paye has from a technique standpoint, they always go very close to the top 10. And it's a good fit. It's a very good fit here for the Detroit Lions defense. He can do a lot of things, be versatile, and play all over the field. Pick 12, the 49ers. When you look at the 49ers, they do have some needs for sure. Quarterback, debatable. First, you can look at interior on the offensive line. You could look at defensive tackle to replace just, add another piece in there on that defensive line. But more so edge rusher, like as like a, I don't know what way to play. D Ford is just not really panning out. That's what I'm trying to get at there. So I think corner's also a big time need for them. So we're sitting here looking at the Niners, corners that are on the board. Okay, there's some guys, safeties. I can look at safeties for sure. You look at edge rushers. Okay, there's not a lot of 4-3 guys. Look at the interior on the offensive line. This is not going to be a sexy pick. I just think Kyle Shanahan wants a dominant offense. Kyle Shanahan wants to run the ball. Mostert, Tevin Coleman, like he wants that stable of running backs. That is how he wants his offense to run. So why not get a guy that I think is a legitimate top 10 player and true talent? Not a sexy pick, but given the fact that there's no guy that I would pick at 12, they could trade back for sure. But I think if you're staying put at 12, the guy that most helps the 49ers immediately next season would be Wyatt Davis. And then I would look in the second round to grabbing a corner. Pick 13, we have the Denver Broncos. I think when you look at the Denver Broncos, kind of similar needs here to the San Francisco 49ers. The Denver Broncos, you could say they need a quarterback still. I think they'd be more so inclined to go in free agency to get a quarterback. They could use an offensive tackle at right tackle. They could look at a 3 technique. They could look at inside linebacker. They could look at outside corner. I am going to make a slightly surprising pick here. Again, I'm not following these ratings. I'm a draft snob. I have my own ratings. Tulsa. Bet you never thought a Tulsa guy would go top 15. Zaven Collins, 6'4", 260, super athletic, does everything that you need a modern-day linebacker doing. Drop back into coverage. He's going to play the run, stay in the box, sideline to sideline. He's very, very, very good. He's going to be a guy that's a lot of people, if you're not super into the draft, you're probably like, who the hell is this guy? They need a middle linebacker. I think Zaven Collins has a very, very high ceiling. Like, there hasn't been a small school dominant linebacker like this. Khalil Mack, kind of, in terms of just like very obscure school, elite playmaker. How did that happen? How did so many people pass him? Like, he's a track and field guy. Like, there is a lot to love about Zaven Collins, and I do think he's going to very much submit himself as a first-round pick. And I have him at 13 Denver. It's a great fit for that defense. I think Vic Fangio, if he's still there, still retains his job, is going to be like, yep, that is exactly what I want, because we're going to have a healthy Bradley Chubb. We're going to have a healthy Von Miller, hopefully, on the other side. On the inside, you can have Zaven Collins and then whatever, Johnson or Josie Jewell or whatever. But Collins is absolutely a guy that you can build around and the anchor of that defense if you want to value like Vic Fangio got in Roquan Smith. Similar here in Xavier Collins. Get that hitter. Shout out to Theo Vaughn. Pick 14. All right, well, we already went off the board with one pick. I think the Minnesota Vikings desperately need a defensive tackle. And my current number one defense, it used to be Jalen Twyman. He's fallen off a little bit. I still think he's way better than number 57. I like Tufele a lot. I think Byron Moore is a safe pick. I'm going to go with the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Way down here. Davion Nixon is amazing. I have no idea. Obviously, I'm going to just say right now, it just hasn't updated. Like, Slayton was awful for the Florida Gators. He should be like in the 200s. Davion Nixon is incredible. I thought there's a chance he doesn't declare. Like, I had him as a borderline top 10 pick if he waited and goes in 2022. 2021, though, that is a phenomenal pick here for the Minnesota Vikings. He's uber athletic. I'm trying to think of like a good player comparison for him. From like watching his tape, like the closest thing I could say would be like Ed Oliver at Houston a little bit. He had a breakout year, but it's not really a breakout year. A lot of people from Iowa were talking like everyone knew he's going to be really good, but this is his first year that he got considerable stats. But I think Nixon is absolutely a first-round player on the defensive line, and that is a big get for that Minnesota Vikings D-line that is not very good, unfortunately. But Nixon coming in, a healthy Danielle Hunter next season, the Vikings defense will definitely bounce back there if Mike Zimmer is still there. Pick 15 for the Patriots. This is very easy. They get, in my opinion, a top 3 player in true talent, and that is Kyle Pitts. Obviously, there's some bias there, but I think it goes Trevor Lawrence, Sewell, and Kyle Pitts is my third pound-for-pound guy. He's unbelievable. I think he's the best tight end that I've seen coming. And he's a modern-day tight end. He's not, if you want the traditional tight end, Freiermuth from Penn State's your guy. But if you want someone that can be the Darren Waller, the prime Jimmy Graham, it's Kyle Pitts. I think the Patriots are going to be all over that. They whiffed on, well, not whiffed, but you could tell they didn't have the proper resources to make a big investment at tight end. They love tight ends. They had to burn in a couple fourth rounders. They got Keen and Asai out of UCLA. Kyle Pitts is a different beast. And not only that, Kyle Pitts walks in and he's the wide receiver one in New England as well. He is that damn good. Like he could be a guy that he comes as a tight end and he could be like a reverse Darren Waller. I wouldn't be surprised 3-4 years in if Kyle Pitts is he's a wide receiver now. He is incredible, and I would say right now, since I've watched Florida Gators football, I've been a fan since 2007? Whatever year Tim Tebow was a backup. I think Kyle Pitts might be the most talented Florida Gator I've seen. He is incredible. He's awesome. He's amazing. And this would be a very, very good pick for the Patriots. Bengals are here at 16. And you're looking at the board. I think Humphrey actually probably is my pound-for-pound best lineman available. But I think they have bigger needs at tackle. So I'm going to get Cosme. He's consistent. Everyone, almost consensus across the board as a first-round tackle. You can get, either side. You figure it out between him and Jonah Williams. You can even probably, if Jonah Williams, I can't tell you if he's been playing good or bad or not. I just know generally consensus is not great around the Bengals line, but you can kick Williams into guard. A lot of people thought maybe that's where he'd be better suited in the NFL. Definitely a guy that you can, first name on the board there for the Bengals offensive line is Jonah Williams. But Cosme, left tackle, right tackle, whatever you want to do, I think he would be the best tackle on their roster at 16. And helping Joe Burrow, protecting Joe Burrow is priority number one for the Cincinnati Bengals. Pick 17. The Raiders 100% need an edge rusher. And looking at it right now, I think Carlos Basham could very well be in play, but I think I've had Basham go to the Raiders in all 2 of my mock drafts. I don't like being template. Osai is good, but he's more of a 3-4. Ojulari, maybe 17 could be a little rich for my blood for a 1-year breakout star, even though it was in the great SEC. I'm going to go off the board again, man. I'm getting Jalen Phillips. I think Jalen Phillips, again, he's first-round traits. It's a Raiders pick. Raiders kind of went off the board getting Pharrell when they drafted him out of Clemson. They went off the board last year when they got Damon Arnett in the first round. It fits. It's on brand. Raiders pick. Phillips, I think, out of all of these edge rushers, highest ceiling for sure. Athletically speaking, he's probably in the same tier as Boogie Basham here. But I think that's the pick. It's either Phillips or Basham at edge rusher at 17. And absolutely, they're getting no pressures whatsoever. Okay production from Max Crosby, but help out on that defensive line, and it will come if you get Jalen Phillips, the former number 1 high school player when he committed to UCLA. He retired from, I don't know if it was concussions or not, so obviously you'd have to pass the medical, but I think he's going to be the biggest riser at defensive end, do the offseason process, do the Senior Bowl, Combine, all that stuff. Phillips is going to make some money. Pick 18, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and this is a home run pick. They get Devontae Smith. Alabama, I mean, we make the meme that Washington is an Alabama pipeline. I think the same can almost be said for Ravens. Baltimore loves their Alabama players. Smith might win the Heisman. If I had to make a vote right now, and you told me I couldn't just biasly give it to Kyle Trask as a Heisman, I would go Smith. Absolutely would not. Mac Jones would be the last one. I'd give it to Devontae Smith. I'd give it to Najee Harris over Mac Jones. Super overrated. But that for the Ravens, you need another playmaker. They don't need Waddle because they have the speedster in Hollywood Brown. Smith gives them a lot more flexibility, a lot more balance to the wide receiver room. That is a home run pick yet again for the team that generally drafts the best year in and year out. Pick 19, Washington is on the board. And I think when you're Washington, there's definitely some areas that need to go, but generally I think the defense is solid. Getting good play from like late round picks, Cameron Curl in particular. So I would be more so looking, I am the football team. You need a quarterback. There's no quarterbacks there. You need a wide receiver, debatably. That actually makes, Jalen Waddle could very well be in play. I think they also need a tackle. I would argue that Waddle might be the best player available, but tackle's the bigger need, and there's some legitimate tackles here. So and it makes sense, Alabama. I mean, it's Washington. They go Alabama players. I'll have them go Leatherwood right now. I think very much Waddle could be an interesting pick, but we'll go Leatherwood because they need a left tackle. They need a left tackle. Leatherwood can play guard. Wasn't particularly great, breathtaking at guard when he played for Alabama, but it shows he's versatile, and he can, that's always added benefit, added value to an offensive lineman. But I think at this point at 19, if you get a guy that you believe could be your tackle, and I think Leatherwood's solid. I don't know a whole lot about Darisaw right now. I had him pigeoned as a guy that was, I think, a second rounder next year. So I need to watch whatever chop ups I can. I know Slater is a guy that people like at tackle, but they could think he can move into guard. Mayfield, Eckenberg for sure, but I think Leatherwood would be the guy at 19, and it's easy because it's Washington and Alabama. Pick 20, Arizona Cardinals. So you look at the Cardinals. What do the Cardinals need? They could look, for me, at guard on the offensive line. They could look at edge rusher if they don't plan on bringing back Hassan Reddick. But then again, why wouldn't you? Hassan Reddick's having a breakout year. He's finally comfortable in the scheme. You don't let that walk. Corner is another big need for them. So if they're going corner, as far as outside corners, Horn makes sense in terms of value if you're going at this website. But for me, just where I'm at right now in my scouting and feeling comfortable with my picks, I like Eric Stokes the most. So I'm going to make them go a little off board here and get Eric Stokes. I just think for sure, I know for a fact he's going to be a good outside corner in the NFL. I think I have him right now as like a fringe first rounder. So knowing that they need an outside corner, Stokes is going to be the guy. But, don't sleep on J.C. Horn. I do have J.C. Horn going in my first round eventually, but I like Stokes right now. But that could change. Out of all these picks so far, I will say the one that I'm least certain about would be 20 here for Arizona. Because, I see people say they need tight end, but they're getting good production. Arnold and Max Williams, they can chip in. They're fine. And you look on the offensive line, center, they could grab one of these guys. Vera Tucker's, a lot of people think he's going to rise a lot and become a fringe first rounder. And that could make a lot of sense, improving that O-line and helping out Kyler Murray and giving him more time. But you watch them play, and it's like generally the offense is not the problem there for Arizona. So it's the defense, and Pat Pete's not getting any younger. You have, I think the dude they have in Washington, I can't remember his name at the top of my head right now. I don't know why I can't, but he's good. Buda Baker's outstanding. I think Stokes is a good young piece to build around going forward. 21, the Dolphins are back, and there we go. We got him getting Jalen Waddle. I think Waddle might slip a little bit because of the injury. It might be healthy in time for the Combine. Either way, landing Jalen Waddle and getting Micah Parsons would be an A-plus draft here for the Miami Dolphins, making the most of their draft assets, reuniting Jalen Waddle with Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be good marketing. It's going to be good PR. It's going to be good for the offense, and you're laughing. You're a Dolphin fan. 22, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and when you look at Tampa Bay, another team with some interesting needs. Quarterback, potentially. I don't think they're going to really get anything there. You could look at offensive tackle. Donovan Smith is a complete liability. I think you could look at edge rusher, depending on, what happens with JPP. Is he going to be there? He's going to be a cap casualty. You have, Shaq Barrett. He's on the tag, right? I'm pretty sure he's still on the tag. So there's a lot of interesting things they could do. But I do think as long as Brady's coming back, you want to get a tackle. I think the safest tackle at this point, if Leatherwood's off the board, I'm going Mayfield. Because then you could have Wirfs, who's been simply outstanding. Very, very good. You can kick him left, right. You can keep him at right tackle. Mayfield at left tackle. Vice versa. I remember Mayfield, the big one was his work against when he was going up against Ohio State, like the best line, Chase Young and those guys. He was outstanding. He didn't play this year, but I think he will be, when all the process and offseason process are done, a bona fide first-round player at the offensive tackle spot. 23, we're moving on to the Colts. And I have the Colts getting Rondale Moore at wide receiver. Here's why. T.Y. Hilton's not getting any younger, and you clearly drafted Paris Campbell out of Ohio State for him to be your gadget guy a little bit on offense. Be the guy that can get, spread the field, but also offer you that, like, the Curtis Samuel type role where, like, he's just going to be the gadget player on offense. And gadget players are very, very valuable. In Rondale Moore, you get a guy that can kind of replace the speed and hopefully production that you're losing now with an aging T.Y. Hilton. But you also get a day one gadget player starter to complement Nyheim Hines and just give Frank Reich limitless ways to frustrate the hell out of opposing defensive coordinators. So I think wide receiver is, it might not be need number one for the Colts. I think they need a quarterback, but I think wide receiver is pretty high up there. And I love Rondale Moore. Love me some Rondale Moore. I would be shocked if he doesn't run real low 4.3s. I think he's a legitimate first round talent. Pick 24, the Cleveland Browns. And I'm going to have them go and get Owosu Koroma, the linebacker here from Notre Dame. Converted safety, traditional 2020, 2021 linebacker in the NFL. Sideline to sideline, very, very good athlete. And the Browns desperately need to get someone in that middle that can replace what they lost in Joe Schobert. They don't have that on the roster right now. And I think Owosu Koromoa can be that guy from Notre Dame. Will impress at the combine. Dylan Moses is good. Bolton, more of a traditional linebacker. Surratt, the converted quarterback. I don't think he's going to sneak into the first. I like Cox out of LSU. But if we're talking about first rounders, Moses has, kind of declined a little bit. Hasn't looked the same after his injury at Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised if he still goes in the first round. But I think once the combine's out, the true athletes, remember when Devin White and Devin Bush were just like, oh my God, these guys are phenomenal. They have to go in the first round. I could see Koroma having that kind of combine, and that's a great fit for the Browns to improve the middle of that defense. Jags are back on the board here at 25. They got Trevor Lawrence way up here at pick 1. So, and there's spots they can go here. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they can always improve the offensive line, grabbing a tackle, grabbing a guard. Haven't really got great return on investments on Andrew Norwell. You're not seeing amazing development out of Ken Robinson. And you're sitting here going like, all right, do we grab a tackle? Or do we grab a safety net? And I'm going to have them grab a safety net here. And Pat Freiermuth. They have been hurting for tight ends in Jacksonville for a very long time. And now that you have Trevor Lawrence, you need that safety net. And that safety net can be Freiermuth, who is the complete tight end in this year's draft class versus, Kyle Pitts, who went way earlier, is more of a wide receiver tight end hybrid. You're getting a more traditional guy that can block, can do everything very, very well, and is very much a first-round caliber player. But you couldn't go wrong if they decided, hey, we should get a tackle. I think Darisaw for sure, Slater, Eckenberg. But at this point in time, I'd be like, well, let's just, we're going to have a very early pick in the second round that we can look. And like looking at these names, obviously they're all over the place, and I have my own personal opinion. I think Brady Christensen from BYU is going to test very well at the combine. I think Redunds is solid. I think Carmen is solid if he declares from Clemson. I do think he might return to school, though. Either way, there's going to be a lot more tackles at that first pick in the second round than there would be tight ends at the first pick in the second round, I think. So get Freiermuth here and then grab a tackle in the second round. 26, the Jets are on the clock after getting Sewell. So you're kind of going under the assumption like, all right, we're going to try to salvage Sam Darnold. So what do we do? ETN, Najee Harris. Definitely I could see teams having either one of these guys as the number one running back on their board. At wide receiver, you have Bateman, who I'm not super high on. I definitely think he could be a fringe first rounder, and I think there's a chance he goes in the first round. But I like Olave maybe a little bit more. I like Tyler Wallace maybe a little bit more. But Bateman is a little bit more well-rounded than those guys, I guess. Offensive line, you continue to build up the interior. Creed Humphrey, if you just want to have if you want the Jets to just have the best offensive line, by all means, get Creed Humphrey, plug and play, day one starter at center. However, I do think they need a little bit of help on the defensive side of the ball. Edge rusher is a spot that I think would be a lot of value. And I'm going to go Osai. Joe Osai here from Texas. Very, very productive. While he is a 3-4 outside linebacker, I think you get a little bit of, kind of reminds me of Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars a little bit, where Josh Allen was an edge rusher at Kentucky, but had underrated coverage ability. Not a strength by any means, but it's better than normal for most 3-4 outside linebackers. I think you get a little bit out of sight. You can do everything. Jack of all trades, good edge rusher, and would be I think, honestly, a day one starter. Really rotational and get a lot of meaningful minutes as a rookie on the defense for the Jets. But if you do make this pick as the Jets, I mean, the Jets have a whole lot of issues. I would say prioritize that early second round pick on either the offensive line, running back. Like, I'm making the assumption right now, I'll tell you, I do not have a running back going in the first round. So if I'm the Jets, you make this Osai pick at 26, and then boom, at the second round, you can get Etienne or Najee Harris. You're laughing. You're absolutely laughing. Pick 27, we have the Tennessee Titans. Interesting team. For me and the Titans, I think I would go edge rusher. They've been trying. They threw everything to try to get, hey, Vic Beasley. Will that work at defensive end? Didn't really work out. And then you got Clowney, and that didn't really work out. So you haven't had that stability outside of Harold Landry. I would not look a lot more further than Ogies Ojulari if he does declare. Redshirt sophomore from Georgia, so he's only going to be 20 when he comes in. Very, very high ceiling. I think he's been outstanding. Anytime you're a breakout edge rusher in the SEC, I'd say you're pretty safe to transition that to the NFL and at least be a good edge rusher in the NFL. So I think long-term here for the Tennessee Titans, Ojulari on one side and Harold Landry on the other is really good edges, and you get a little bit more stability there on the defense. 28, the Steelers could be in play to trade up way higher here to get a quarterback, even though I kind of feel like if the offseason gets a little bit weird with Stafford or Matt Ryan going, I think the Steelers would be more in play bringing in a veteran if even Big Ben decides to retire. So when you're looking at this for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think tackle could very much be in play. I think you could look at, running back debatably. I don't think they would, but they don't have. Pittsburgh always has had a star running back. They don't have that right now. They have two solid guys. I think they could look at edge rusher because they're probably not going to be able to pay Bud Dupree, even though we just saw two really good 3-4 edges go off the board. Away, if he does declare, a lot of people are saying much like Kwity Paye, it just doesn't have elite production, but it's going to blow the doors off at the combine. This is a tough one. This is an interesting one. I think if you go middle linebacker, Dylan Moses is still there, right? I do think that there is something to be said about Pittsburgh making kind of surprising picks. It does seem like Pittsburgh every now and again will make kind of a head scratcher. I'll tell you right now, I did like a run through, and I had them getting Eckenberg, tackle at Notre Dame. The more I think about it, the more I think defense makes so much sense, but their offense has been what's kind of shit right now. Screw it, we'll go tackle. We'll go the safe thing with tackle. I think Moses could be in play for sure, but we'll just have them get, whatever quarterback's coming in, you can definitely get an upgrade there. Eckenberg seems 100% like a Pittsburgh Steeler type pick. So I'm just going to make it, and we're going to move on. I'm not a huge fan. I don't hate it. Interested to see what you Steeler fans would have liked to do there. 29, the Saints are on the board. And we look at the Saints, I'm going to have them. This is a match made in heaven. Where's Dad played? Joe Horn's kid. J.C. Horn, outside corner. Can play outside of Marshawn Lattimore. Bring some more stability to that secondary, which has been kind of inconsistent, I guess you could say, for a very good defensive unit. The outside cornerback play has been Marshawn Lattimore, and then it's kind of like they compensate by having like Malcolm Jenkins and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I still can't believe you guys got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the 4th round. Outside corner, I think, is a big need here for the Saints. And again, they're probably not going to be in play to give up a bunch of assets to trade up because they have such a bad salary cap situation that you're just going to have to keep your draft picks and get those cheap contracts on. So get an outside corner in Horn, where I feel a lot more comfortable with him going at pick 29. Here we go. We're just going to keep going. Buffalo Bills need a slot corner, and you're getting the best slot corner in the draft in Shaun Wade. Has not been electrifying as a outside corner this year for Ohio State, but last year as a slot corner, he's good. He can lay the lumber, good tackler, good technique, fine athlete. You pair that with Tre'Davious White, the safeties, Poyer. Thank you. Love you, Rachel Bush. Love you. Awesome. And Micah Hyde. The secondary keeps on churning, and a pick like this helps keep the Buffalo Bills as a premier defense, and I think tops of the AFC East for at least another year. Pick 31, we have the Green Bay Packers on the clock. I think they pretty much have to go wide receiver. And while I'm not the biggest fan, I'm not going to be so draft hipstery that while every mock draft site has been the first rounder, There you go. You get Rashad Bateman, solid wide receiver. I just don't think he does anything amazingly. He's kind of a jack of all trades, good wide receiver, which is fine. But I feel like in the first round, you need an elite trait at something, and I just think he's kind of good at everything. Not, he's like a little bit lesser version of Devontae Smith. Like, Devontae Smith isn't truly elite at anything, but he's very good at a lot of stuff. And I think that it's just like the next version down is Bateman. He's not truly elite at anything. He's very good at some things and good at almost everything. Sure. That goes in the first round. So there's a big playmaker and I think would probably be the best wide receiver, not named Devontae Adams, on the Green Bay Packers if they made that pick. And then finishing at 32, the Green Bay Packers did not ruin anything that was in play for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm having the Chiefs here grab, as soon as I make this pick, it kind of darkens the screen. I'm going to get Rashawn Slater. I think offensive line, tackle, and or guard would be beneficial for the Kansas City Chiefs to go out and upgrade. And Rashawn Slater's a guy, if you listen to Daniel Jeremiah, I like him on NFL.com. He says Slater was the most impressive lineman that he's scouted. I trust it. He's looked solid. So sure, get a guy that a lot of people think can be a tackle, can be a guard at this level. Getting really a lot of the same reports that Tristan Wirfs got. He's not going to be the same athlete as Tristan Wirfs, but a lot of people thought that Slater, when he went up against Chase Young, pretty much that was like the measuring stick for Slater and Jalen Mayfield. Jalen Mayfield was like, hey, you look good against Chase Young. Okay, first rounder. But, Slater is solid, brings that flexibility on the offensive line, which is always an extra value. So there you go. You bolster up your O-line there with the Chiefs, grabbing Rashawn Slater with the 32nd pick in my 2021 NFL mock draft. So there you go, fellas. That is my mock draft. Let me know what you guys think about your picks, your favorite team's picks, in the comment section below. We'll be able to hash it out. If you liked it, if you would have done something different, feel free. Let me know. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Slowly working our way up to 150,000 subs. I would like to hit that sooner than later. Smash the like button. I need more likes on my videos to help me out on YouTube. So if you guys enjoyed the video, it's a season of giving. All I want to do is just to give me a big old thumbs up on the video. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow, where hopefully we could talk about how Jalen Hurts helped the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys, but really just ruin our chances of drafting Jamar Chase. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Ho, 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 motherfucker.